Well, hi, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome. This is the last one in the series. I hear the big R's going around the room. And this one with Google is around developing your international strategy and your export operations. So it looks like we've come a long way over the last few weeks, and I'm sure that you'll be delighted to engage with today. But before we get there, and before I hand over to Rikesh, just wanted to say a few words around where we are in terms of Irish retail. It certainly feels as though we're in a much better place than when we started these sessions with Google a few short weeks ago. Lots changed in the last few weeks. We've had a pretty positive start to reopening of non-essential retail. It certainly feels as though most people have seen a bit of a bounce, certainly in terms of conversion and average transaction value and so on. Still a little bit difficult in terms of footfall, I know, in certain places, particularly in Dublin city centre and some of the other cities. But hopefully, look, we've got the opening of hospitality with at least outdoors next week, and hopefully the weather will continue in a good vein, and we'll see a bit of a bounce again next week. It will be naive of me to say that the challenges have not stopped, though. Clearly, we've still got a lot of challenges out there with COVID, and we're certainly not out of the woods. But the recovery plan that was announced by government on Tuesday, I think generally speaking, has been given a thumbs up by most of the business community. Certainly a call we were on with the Taoiseach on Tuesday night, most people were giving that a thumbs up. So there's plenty of support and money in place from the government to keep us going through until the end of this year. But obviously one of the big issues was around staffing and all of those sort of things. So look, before I hand over to Rikesh, a quick one from me. If you're really interested in lots more around retail and TV and all of that sort of thing, then tune in tonight, Open for Business, RTE1. Got a little surprise for you there. So some nice little retail pieces on RTE1 tonight at 7. So please tune into that one for more details. Finally, from me, before I hand over to Rikesh, it's been great. I think, look, thumbs up to the whole team from Google in terms of what they've presented over the last few weeks. There's some really valuable stuff that they've gone through. And I'm sure today will be no different. And, you know, we really want to continue this relationship that we've established with Google. And, you know, we want to do more. So, you know, any feedback you've got as to what you want out there, then please let us know. That's it from me. Rikesh, I hope you're ready. And we'll hand over to you and you can take it from there. Thanks very much.
Perfect. Thanks very much, Duncan, for the warm introduction there. So welcome to this Google Digital Garage webinar session. As you can see on screen, all about how you can create your international growth strategy and build your export operations. My name is Rikesh. I'm going to be your webinar presenter, taking you through the course of this webinar session over the next hour. Before we kind of get into things in terms of telling you a little bit about me and how we're going to be going through this webinar session, as Duncan was mentioning, this is the last webinar that we are running as part of this webinar series together in collaboration with Retail Excellence. Now, if you have missed any of the previous webinar sessions that we have ran as part of this webinar series, you can actually catch up and watch the previous sessions back. So if you want to navigate your way to the Retail Excellence's YouTube channel, which is the YouTube channel that this webinar session is on right now as well. Feel free to kind of do that. Sit down with a cup of tea, kind of enjoy it, grab a pen and paper, and feel free to kind of jot down notes in regards to some of the previous webinar sessions that we've ran as well. So one thing to also note before I kind of go into a little bit of an introduction as to who I am as well is if anybody's having any sort of technical difficulties in either the sound or the video side of things, as with all types of technology, if something doesn't work straight away, maybe switch it off, switch it back on again. And by that, I mean, typically maybe just give your kind of browser page a quick refresh, or if you're tuning in on a mobile device, maybe come out of the link, come out of the YouTube app and then reload everything back up using the link that you received. And hopefully everything should be working. Now, if you can hear and see me clearly, I hope that you got a pen and paper ready so you can kind of jot down some notes as we go along throughout the course of this webinar session. So a little bit about me. I am a trainer for Google's digital skills program, Google Digital Garage. I'm also a digital marketer, so I help businesses to create and to grow their own online presence in order to attract customers and clients, especially as we kind of seem to live in a day and age whereby the vast majority of customers or potential customers, as we could also sort of term them as, are spending a lot of time online as well. So that's kind of a little bit about me. I'd also like to introduce to you at this stage my colleague and fellow Google Digital Garage trainer, and that is the wonderful Amy. Now, Amy is going to be our chat moderator, who's going to be based down in our live chat. So the live chat box is on the bottom right of your screen. So that's going to be your space to get involved, drop your comments in. There's going to be a lot of questions I'm going to be posing to you. So I'd love to hear your comments, because we all have kind of different thinking. We've all had kind of different experiences in business. So it's all kind of, it's all really great to kind of hear different perspectives from you all. So feel free to kind of let me know some answers to certain questions I'll be throwing out to you. And feel free to kind of drop me any questions as well. I'll try and get through as many of your questions in the time that we have together. If I don't know the answer to a question, I will simply say, I don't know the answer. You might need to go away and Google it, ironically, but definitely pop your questions in, and I'll try and get through as many of the questions in the time that we have together on this webinar session. Now, this session on create your international growth strategy and build your export operations, as I mentioned, is the last webinar in this series in collaboration with Retail Excellence. Now, you can actually have a look at the Google Digital Garage website. If you have a look at the link in the video description box below, that will take you to the Google Digital Garage website, and you can have a look at the upcoming schedule of other webinar sessions that are run, and these sessions are available for you to attend at no charge as well. Feel free to also explore the online courses section of the Google Digital Garage website. There's a particular course on there called the Fundamentals of Digital Marketing, whereby once completed, which is a course that you can take and complete in your own time and at your own pace and at no charge, which is provided by Google, you will also receive a certificate from Google at no charge as well. And it's always nice to kind of get that nice little pat on the back when we've kind of got when we've kind of got some sense of kind of recognition for kind of completing the course or whatever it might be as well. So feel free to kind of explore that when you do get a moment as well. But without further ado, let's look at what we're covering in today's session, all about how you can create your international growth strategy and build your operations. So in this webinar session, we're first of all going to be focusing on how we can sort of research markets and plan our export strategy, because it's very important. I'm sure you might have kind of heard of the phrase, it sounds a little bit cheesy at times, is fail to plan to fail, but it does ring true, especially in business, especially when we're trying to do something that we might not necessarily have done before. It's very important to actually make sure that we are in particular just kind of having some kind of blueprint that we can kind of work off as well. Once we've done that, and I had a look at kind of the market research side of things and creating our strategy, we're then going to look at how we can kind of localize our content, localize our communications, and everything that kind of goes with it in terms of our business to the target kind of country, kind of target market, however you want to kind of term it, because we essentially want to kind of resonate with people in that country who would be interested in our product offering as well. And then we'll kind of finish off this webinar session looking at how we can sort of build our operations. So looking at everything from kind of customer care right the way through to kind of the actual pure operational side, which is kind of logistics as well, which is all kind of equally important when we are kind of looking to grow into new markets as well. But before we kind of go ahead, I want to kind of throw this question out to you, and feel free to let me know your thoughts in the live chat, which is a question that I want to kind of ask, which is, what is your motivation for joining today's webinar session? Because this topic is a little bit more kind of niche. I guess it would be more kind of applicable to certain businesses as opposed to others, depending on where certain businesses are in the present time. And what's kind of the one key thing that you're looking to get out of this webinar session? Is there anything in particular that you're looking to kind of learn, or is it just kind of you want to kind of absorb information so that when you are ready to kind of grow into a new market, which might not be now, then at least you've kind of got some level of kind of foundational knowledge as well. So let me know in the live chat. I'd love to kind of read some of yours out as well. I know some of you have been getting involved. Sarah has mentioned, we'd love to learn how to grow our online presence internationally. Yeah, so that's fantastic. Thank you very much for that, Sarah. She will mention to find out how to make an impact on a local level internationally as well. Yeah, so I think that's internationally is really kind of that kind of buzzword really. And that's very important, because as a business, we don't necessarily just want to think on a local level. we also want to think, well, if people where we are based are interested in what we're offering, and surely people in other countries will be interested in the same as well. So I think it's really kind of important to kind of have that ambition and drive, right? And another one here from Susan, a better knowledge of how to expand export operations through digital. Yeah, fantastic. So thank you very much for your kind of comments in regards to that question there. And I really hope that you do find this webinar session useful in kind of answering some of those kind of objectives why you are here for today's webinar session. So with that in mind, let's actually have a look at some opportunities that exist from kind of having international growth, because it's always nice to have that kind of validation as to, right, we are looking to expand and we are looking to kind of grow internationally, grow into either one market, grow into multiple markets, whatever it might be. But we need to know why. And the reason why is through kind of a lot of these kind of facts and figures that you can see on screen here. So you can see that 70% of consumers globally make at least one cross-border purchase annually. I'm sure I'm not the only one who over the last 12 months has purchased at least one item from across the border somewhere. So, you know, from different parts of the world. So it can be kind of big business in that sense as well. You can see that around the globe, consumers are shopping more online, and that figure just kind of, and those figures kind of seem to be kind of going in an upward trajectory as well, especially with the way of the world in terms of in terms of kind of the pandemic times as well. You can see that Ireland has exported nearly 170 billion US dollars worth of goods around the globe in 2019. So that's kind of an eye-watering figure there and then anyway. And you can actually see with e-commerce in general, sales worldwide are in the trillions. You know, 3.5 trillion in 2019 it's absolutely astonishing. So it is big business, right? So it's a great place to create and carve out opportunities for ourselves and specifically for our businesses there as well. So in terms of benefits off the back of these opportunities that we do have, we can sell to new customers. We can get our retail products and the services out into kind of the hands or into or kind of get new pairs of eyes viewing our products, right? Which is always fantastic, because that can naturally have like a snowball effect. So if somebody buys your product, for example, they will tell their friends, they will tell their family, they'll tell their wider support network, and that's something which can snowball into something fantastic, whereby you will have an X number of orders the following day that come through as well. Now, in terms of kind of exporting as well, we can also kind of create a larger kind of commercial footprint as well for our business. So we can kind of really kind of state that we are really a global business, which can stand for quite a lot in general as well. And that can add a lot of kind of credibility, especially in kind of the international kind of game, whereby other markets might be interested and say, well, yes, why don't you expand into this country or that country as well? And all of this kind of selling to new customers, creating a larger commercial footprint, can lend itself to more money, to becoming more profitable as a business. And another kind of benefit, at times it can seem like it's more of a challenge rather than a benefit, is that it makes us more resilient when we are expanding into a new market, when we're looking to kind of go overseas, because there are going to be natural challenges that do come with kind of expanding our products into new countries. But through those challenges that we do have, we may have setbacks, but it will kind of make us a lot more kind of resilient when it comes to not just kind of international kind of dealings, but even kind of more local dealings. It'll help us. It'll help us in that respect as well. So it's very important to kind of highlight that, because I think that is equally as part of a benefit, as opposed to the other three kind of benefits as have been mentioned as well. So with that in mind, let's have a look at how we go about researching markets and planning our strategy. Well, in terms of kind of creating our export strategy, we are basically taking a 4-step approach. So this starts with researching our market and our kind of target audience, or our market audience for a better term as well. We then want to choose our route to market, and I'll explain a little bit what I mean by route to market shortly as well. We then also want to analyze our competition, because it's always nice to kind of have one eye on our competitors to see how they are doing things, because that can give us an indication, an idea as to what kind of avenues we could possibly go down, because as much as our competitors may be selling the same products as we do, everybody has their own kind of unique selling points as well. So that's something which we will naturally be able to get across within any type of kind of marketing that we put out there as well. And then we also want to be very clear as to what kind of goals we want to achieve, and specifically we want to set ourselves what are known as SMART goals, or kind of SMART objectives, and I'll explain a little bit more about that shortly as well. Now, if we actually kick off with kind of researching our market audience, there's actually a fantastic Google tool which is available for you to use at no charge, called Market Finder. And I'll just show you this very short video, which just explains in a little bit more detail about what Market Finder is and what it can do to when it comes to kind of helping you when it comes to creating your export strategy.
Thinking about expanding your business abroad? Google's free Market Finder tool can help you get going. Just start by telling us a bit about your business, and we'll recommend the most valuable export markets for you based on your goals. You'll also discover key insights about each one, like how much people earn on average, how often they go online, or even how many monthly searches there are for your product or service. Plus, you can get advice from real experts on everything from taking payments and localizing your marketing to hiring the right people and navigating tax and legal laws. Market Finder can also help you create a global marketing strategy. For example, with tips on how to take your website global, helping international customers find you online, and measuring your success. Find new customers abroad and take your business further with Market Finder.
Okay, so that's just a very short video kind of explaining Market Finder, and I fully appreciate it's a lot to kind of take in just over kind of a minute with that kind of short video there. So feel free to watch that video back. Amy will kindly pop the link to this in the live chat for you, so you can watch it back as many times as you like. And also, one thing I would say with kind of any new tool, especially a new tool which is available at no charge, which Market Finder is, this Google tool is available for you to use at no charge, is just have a play around with it. And we'll be explaining throughout the course of this webinar session about a few key things with Market Finder that can really help you when it comes to kind of creating your own export strategy as well. Now, in terms of Market Finder itself, this is what the dashboard would typically look like. So you've got a few different kind of titles here, or headings along the top. So you've got dashboard, which is your kind of your splash screen. You've then got explore markets. You've got plan your operations. You've got market your business, and then you've got a new tab which is called COVID-19, which is a tab where you can kind of find tools and guides and resources that can sort of help your business navigate these kind of COVID-19 times as well. So let's actually have a look at kind of this first tab of Explore Markets, because that's where we are right now in terms of this webinar session. We're going through this exploring phase. We want to understand about which countries should we actually create a presence in. And you can actually see on this screenshot here that we've got our existing market of Ireland, and then we've actually added a list here of potential markets of the United States, Turkey, and Brazil. So we can actually kind of do a little bit of research first and foremost, and then we can add a few countries to our potential market list there as well. Now, in terms of kind of information, useful information that we can actually obtain from the Exploring Markets section of Market Finder, is that we can actually find out how the search and advertising landscape is in another country. So we can actually find out what is the average kind of cost per click for an advert in another country. Now, if the average cost per click is quite low in another country, that could give us a clear indication to say, right, okay, well, the competition is a little bit less. So in terms of our advertising budget that we will need to use, we can actually reduce that in comparison to what we're currently paying in our kind of local market as well. Another kind of useful piece of information that you'll be able to find on Market Finder is how easy it is to conduct business in that particular country. So you'll actually see that there's a ranking system on Market Finder which ranks all the kind of countries in the world based upon how easy it is to do business over there as well. So that kind of gives you another piece of kind of valuable information going forward as well. Income, so you're able to actually find out what is the average kind of household income in a particular country, and that's something which you can then kind of correlate with kind of the average household income in Ireland, right? So we can actually do a little bit of a contrast and comparison, especially in comparison with the price of our products that we are selling for as well. Another thing that we can do is have a look at purchase behavior, so we can find out when customers in other countries are getting to the point of purchase. Do they need to be kind of wowed quite a lot, or are they kind of sold very quickly through something like a promotional video? So what point in the kind of the sales journey or sales funnel are they kind of looking to make a purchase as well? And also we can just generally find out kind of the country profile, kind of the economic situation of a country as well. So there's quite a lot of information, as you can sort of tell, when it comes to Market Finder, that you'll be able to actually see. And as I mentioned, this is a Google tool which is available for you to use at no charge. So even if you are not quite there, if you're not quite ready to expand into a new market yet, but you may be in 6 months time, in 12 months time, then it's definitely still a tool for you to kind of look into and start making kind of notes and jotting down certain information that might come in handy a little bit later on, which you can then kind of come back to Market Finder at that time when you are ready, because some of the information might have changed as well. So as I mentioned earlier on, the second part to kind of consider when it comes to conducting kind of research is we want to consider our route to market. So how do we want to kind of, what's kind of the main way in which we can actually get our business into another country, essentially? So you've got a few options here. You've got something like an export agent. So an export agent is typically like a representative that kind of assists you when you are looking to kind of get into a new country. So they will probably have kind of kind of a good knowledge as to how everything operates in that particular country, and that can be really invaluable and kind of priceless. That can be a really priceless confidant that you can have when it comes to expanding into a new country as well, because they will have a lot more local knowledge, which we probably wouldn't have just as much. The only kind of information that we'd have would probably be information that we've kind of collated online ourselves. Another option is kind of export distributors. So export distributors kind of work like an independent business. So we typically would sell our goods to that independent business, this export distributor, and what they would do is they would place a markup on the goods, and then they would then sell them so that they account for profit margin from their end as well. Another option is a joint venture, whereby you are kind of partnering up with somebody in that other country that you're looking to kind of get into as well. So they have a lot of knowledge, and you kind of enter into some level of a partnership of sorts as well. Another option, franchising. I'm sure many of you have kind of seen franchises before. If you think about the likes of kind of McDonald's or Starbucks, this is where kind of people can actually open up the same business in terms of the exact operational side of things, how it's all ran. So with like something like a Starbucks, how it's kind of all set up in terms of the layout of the Starbucks coffee shop, right the way through to the green aprons that they wear at Starbucks as well. Everything is kind of uniform, not just kind of in one country, but in multiple countries, it all kind of looks the same as well. So that's something to kind of consider whether you want to kind of enter into something like a franchise agreement. And then you've also got licensing agreements as well. So you might have actually seen this before, whereby businesses allow other kind of retailers to actually sell their products. So if you kind of think about the likes of Disney, there's lots of different places in and around Ireland that you're able to kind of buy Disney toys, for example. However, none of those kind of retailers are allowed to call themselves the Disney store unless they actually have a franchise agreement to open up a specific Disney store in the same kind of layout and all other kind of customizations that have kind of been written into that agreement as well. Another option is selling directly, so going directly to the source, which is the customer. But again, there might be a few steps involved with that. You might need the use of an export agent to kind of assist with that as well. And then probably the most kind of time-consuming route to market would be setting up a business abroad, because that's kind of starting from scratch, essentially, whereby we would need to kind of source a business premises, we need to source logistics providers, we need to source a lot of information, we need to source members of staff. So we are kind of, that's something which would be a lot more kind of time consuming than some of the other options that are there as well. So it is very important to kind of consider all the routes to market and kind of pick the one or a combination of one or two which you feel might be most relevant to your business and your operations in general as well. Now, when it comes to competition and kind of analyzing how well our competitors are doing, we can actually run what is known as a SWOT analysis. I'm sure many of you out there have run a SWOT analysis for your own business before. You've kind of heard of a SWOT analysis, whereby we're kind of identifying the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats when it comes to a competitor. So when it comes to strengths of a competitor, we can actually find out and kind of ask ourselves the question, well, what does our competitor do really well? What are they known for? So what's their kind of unique selling points as well? Then we can also look at their weaknesses from the flip side as well. So what do your competitors' customers complain about? Are there products or services that they themselves don't offer? And through these weaknesses is born opportunities. So we can think about what opportunities can be born from these weaknesses that this competitor has as well, that we can take advantage of ourselves as well. And then also identifying any sort of threats in terms of our competitors. So is there a threat of them, of your competitor, that they've kind of lowered prices? How's that going to affect us and our kind of profit margins? Do we need to kind of reduce ours? And how is everything going to pan out from our end as well when we are, if we are kind of direct competitors as well? So it's important to kind of conduct this SWOT analysis and go in depth with each one of these kind of letters as well. Now, when it comes to constructing an export plan itself, it can be very challenging to actually create an export plan from a standing start. And that's where I want to kind of introduce to you a really fantastic resource called Open to Export. Now, Open to Export is a fantastic website which has lots of different kind of step-by-step guides and resources and information. But crucially as well, on the Open to Export website, there's also lots of different templates for creating an export plan as well. And I'm sure Amy will kindly share the link to this website, and specifically to the export action plan templates in the live chat for you as well. And what you can do with that template is you can then kind of mold it for your own business purposes as well. Now, another fantastic resource to actually look at when it comes to kind of constructing an export plan for your own business is the Irish Exporters Association website as well, which I'm sure, again, Amy will kind of share the link to that in the live chat as well. And it will help you to kind of create that framework for your own business. And then, as I mentioned, once you've kind of gone through that planning stage, we can then progress on a little bit further with other aspects such as kind of logistics, which we'll talk about a little bit later as well. So with that in mind, I want to kind of ask you this question, and feel free to kind of share this in the live chat if you wish to do so. I know some of you may wish to kind of keep this a little bit more kind of personal, but feel free to kind of share in the live chat. What is your main business objective? What are you looking to kind of get out of expanding into a new country or countries, plural? Perhaps what are you looking to kind of achieve? Are you looking to increase your profits, which is very, very much a simple objective that we can have? Are there any objectives such as kind of you want to build a bit more brand awareness in another country so that you are maybe put in pedestal as other kind of global brands out there within your industry as well? So feel free to kind of let me know in the live chat. I'd love to read some of yours out a little bit later as well. So with these objectives that we have, so in terms of what we're looking to kind of get out of expanding overseas. We don't just want to kind of have a business objective of, okay, I want to increase profits. We want to actually turn this objective, this business objective, into a smart business objective. And as you can see on screen here, SMART is an acronym. So this stands for a business objective which is specific or kind of significant. So there's a lot of kind of information and kind of clarity that goes with this business objective. This business objective can be measured. So we can actually track it and actually see, right, okay, well, how can we measure the performance of this business objective that we're looking to achieve? Is it attainable? So is it kind of, what do we need to kind of make it happen? Is it realistic as an objective as well? And actually, can you track it? This is really important as well. This is probably one of the reasons why this kind of bookends this particular acronym here, is because we want to kind of set ourselves a timeline and a deadline as to when we want to achieve a particular objective by as well. So let's actually have a look at a smart business objective in action here as well. So let's say we've got a goal, which is I want to increase my profits. Okay, so let's walk this through SMART, which is something specific. So I will increase my revenue while cutting down on expenditure, moving to a more affordable premises that will cut my rent by 7%, which will reduce my operational costs. Great, there's a lot of information in there. You've got percentages in there. You've got a clear kind of step-by-step approach that you are taking. So you are really kind of being on the front foot there. Measurable as well. I will increase sales over the next 3 months by launching into a new market. So this is going to be your kind of your benchmark that you're going to be kind of measuring everything according to as well. You've got attainable. So I will improve my current customer relationships to encourage referrals and promote the business through an export agent. This will help me find more leads. Great. And then we've got realistic. So moving to a cheaper establishment will reduce the operational cost of my business and therefore give more room for profits, or the growth of profits as well. So we've got that kind of realism there. And then we've got that kind of that deadline that we're setting. So I will have increased my profits by the end of the coming 3 months. So you kind of set yourself a target that you are aiming for as well. So feel free to kind of use this framework when it comes to kind of further kind of refining some of your business objectives there as well. Okie doke. So let's have a quick check-in, see if there's any questions or comments from you all. Avoca Island has mentioned in terms of, I believe this is in relation to your business objective, which is I would like to learn how to increase current international market from the USA and the UK, and how to offer better shipping when costs from couriers are higher. Yeah, so no, that's fantastic kind of goal. So if you want to kind of walk through that specific objective and kind of further refine that through that kind of SMART framework, I think that would be really great to kind of provide a little bit more clarity to your business objective that you set there as well. So thank you very much for that, for sharing that business objective there as well. Now, if you've got any questions, any comments, pop them into the live chat box, and Amy will kind of be keeping tabs on them, on all of them for you as well. So with that in mind, let's move on to the second part of our webinar session, which is looking at localization and communication. And with that in mind, what do you think that we need to kind of consider? What kind of things do you think that we need to consider when we're localizing our products or services? Now, you might be thinking, well, Rikesh, surely we need to think about translation, because not every country in the world has English as their first spoken language. And you'd be right, but localization is much more than just translation, as we'll see throughout this part of the webinar session. So there's quite a few steps that we can take when it comes to localizing content, which is we want to revisit our market research and our competitive analysis, which we actually explored in the first part of this webinar session. Once we've done that, we want to make sure that we're speaking in our customer's language. We then also want to make sure that we're understanding key regulation, because at the end of the day, we want to make sure that we are conducting business legally in that new market, in that new country that we are looking to kind of set up in as well. And we want to make sure that when we are localizing our kind of operations, our kind of logistics side of things, that we are always kind of having our target customers in our mind, our target customers in that new market in mind at every step of the journey as well. So let's break each one of these down in turn. So when it comes to revisiting our market research and competitor analysis, we can ask ourselves a few of these questions, such as, is the landing page on my business's website in a non-local language? Is the value proposition clearly articulated? And also kind of takes into account any sort of cultural specifics, or is kind of the messaging, is the value proposition getting lost in translation? Does the text sound native and natural at all? So this is something which you can kind of vet with you within the confines of your website. And are there any sort of cultural sensitivities that we need to be aware of there as well? Now, one thing that we can do when it comes to addressing some of these questions would be, we can actually conduct a little bit of research. We can conduct some multilingual keyword research to find out specifically what people in our new market are searching for online. And we can actually, because we're actually looking for multilingual keywords, we can actually find out in what context people are looking for information in. So we are kind of minimizing and kind of reducing any kind of confusion, and making sure that nothing does get kind of lost in translation as well. Now, a few things when it comes to translation to be mindful of is a few figures that you can see on screen here, which are actually obtained from the Market Finder tool, which is that 87% of Dutch people actually speak English. And India is now the world's second largest English-speaking country. So if you're maybe looking to expand into the Netherlands or to India, and you were thinking about maybe having your website translated, then you might want to kind of rethink things. And this is where Market Finder really kind of comes into its own, because it can provide you this valuable information. Now, if you are looking to get into maybe the Polish market, then you can see here that in Poland, 95% of people prefer websites in Polish. So that might be for you an opportunity to have your website translated into the Polish language there. Now, when it comes to speaking our customers' language, you can see that 82% of shoppers are more likely to buy if promotional materials in their own language. But again, we've got to kind of offset that with what is the kind of the main language that a particular country uses the most as well. Now, if we are going to be kind of translating our website or having it translated into a different language, a little bit like if we're looking to get into the Polish market, we're looking to get it translated, then one thing that we want to do is make sure that we are using a professional translation service for our website, rather than trying to kind of rely upon kind of machine translation, which might actually lose some context and some specific messaging and meaning that might be lost because it's doing a like for like direct translation. So it's very important to kind of get that done kind of professionally when it comes to your website as well, because we want to make sure that because language is nuanced, we want to make sure that our messaging on every aspect of our website is getting across as intended to our potential customer base out there as well. Now, sometimes localization can mean more than translations, and as I mentioned, this is where sometimes things can get lost in translation. So there was a company, this is back in the 1970s, which came out with a disposable diaper, which they actually were looking to expand into Japan. Now, in terms of the marketing and advertising kind of campaign around that disposable diaper, they used something which would be let's say the norm in kind of more Western culture, which is by kind of using a stork carrying a baby, which is kind of through kind of an old tale of how kind of newborns are delivered. So in Western culture, that seems to be the norm. However, this marketing material was actually used to promote the disposable diapers in Japan. Now, the one thing that wasn't done back then was that full research wasn't carried out in terms of, will this stork carrying this baby, this message, this kind of photo, will it resonate with people in the local market within Japan? And the answer to that was no. So actually, kind of in Japan, kind of the tale in Japanese culture is that newborns usually are known to kind of arrive courtesy of a giant peach floating down the river. So it's much different to what is kind of known in the Western culture as well. So the moral of this kind of scenario here is that we want to be really aware of cultural references. Otherwise, our messaging is not going to be getting across effectively as well. And it's something which kind of comes from trial and error at times. But where possible, we want to obviously try and get things right the first time, especially there as well. Now, a few things to note when it comes to regulations. You might be thinking, well, Rikesh, there's a lot to take in on this screen. And you'd be absolutely right. There's things such as kind of licenses, permits, trademarks, patents. What's the data privacy laws in that country that you are looking to get into? What are the age restrictions on certain products, if applicable to some of your products that you're looking to kind of get into new countries? Think about what type of business insurance is required, what type of advertising is allowed and not allowed, packaging, labeling as well. So there's a lot of key considerations here. And this is where having an export agent, just somebody who's in that country, can really pay dividends here. Just by kind of having a lot of this kind of knowledge of the market that you are looking to get into, especially there as well. So with that in mind, it's very important to bear in mind that different cultures have different purchasing preferences. So you can actually see in Germany, nearly 80% of people are more likely to buy if the product information is in German over a product which does not have any sort of German information on there at all as well. You can also see 43% of users in the Netherlands said that they would actually abandon a shopping cart if their preferred payment method is not available. So that's another key consideration. But you can actually see how a lot of these kind of statistics and figures are relevant to specific countries. So we want to make sure that we're kind of looking at all these kind of facts and figures about the specific country or countries that we are looking to get into, which is very kind of important to do that kind of homework, do that kind of market research, do that competitor analysis as well, which we kind of went through at the very beginning of this webinar session. You can see that over 50% of Indian business decision makers said that live demos have helped them to make a purchase. So that's something to consider if we're looking to kind of get into the Indian market. And you can see that 78% of customers in France report that free shipping is kind of the most valuable motivator when it comes to shopping there as well. So these are all kind of important considerations to kind of bear in mind. And one thing to note is these figures can change over periods of time, because if we kind of think of us, we are consumers at the end of the day as well as kind of running businesses. We are also consumers who buy products. So our purchasing behaviors, preferences change over periods of time. And the same is true for our customers or potential customers when it comes to kind of new markets as well. So with that in mind, let's have a check-in, see if there's any questions from you all. Okie doke. So I can't see any questions at the moment, but I hope you've been kind of jotting down a few kind of notes and kind of taking stock. And as I mentioned, this is something which you're more than welcome to kind of refresh on as many times as you like by kind of revisiting some of the notes that you have made after this session kind of concludes as well. So let's have a look at how we go about building our operation. So we've actually looked at kind of the research side of things for the new market that we're looking to get into. How do we go about kind of analyzing our competition out there? How do we then go about creating an export plan? And then how do we actually localize ourselves and our business for that brand new market that we are looking to get into? Now that we've kind of talked about all of that, now we're kind of going to be talking about the actual pure operational side, which is essentially consisting of three elements here, which is customer care, payments, and logistics. So this tab, which is plan your operations, so this is the third one in at the top of Market Finder. This is the tab that we want to kind of look at, where we will actually find out a lot more information in regards to this particular section around the likes of kind of logistics. And one thing to kind of note is customer care always needs to be paramount. I'm sure many of us are aware in business is that it's important to keep our customers happy, right? And you can see customer service goes a long way, especially by looking at a lot of these figures here. You can see that 84% of companies that work to improve their customer experience report an increase in revenue. So it doesn't seem like it's a coincidence, does it? So it really does pay to always be providing that positive customer experience. You can actually see that customers that tell an average of 9 people about a positive experience that they've had with a company or business, whereas if somebody has had a negative experience about with a particular brand or a company, then they'll actually tell up to 16 people. So I think it's probably human nature at times that when something maybe goes a little bit wrong or goes a little bit awry, that we tend to want to tell everybody about what's happened and maybe kind of warn them off at times. Whereas if something goes well, we tell a few people, but we don't necessarily kind of carry that on and tell loads and loads of people. So it's something to be very mindful of, because we want to obviously fall into that category of the 9 people that our customer tells about our particular business as well. And you can see that companies that provide an emotional connection with customers outperform those who don't, who kind of sell without that emotional connection by 85%, which is a staggering number. So that kind of, for me, this kind of figure here actually indicates that at its heart, when it comes to kind of retail, is people still buy from people, right? So there's still that kind of albeit kind of online, there's still that human kind of element. There's still kind of that authenticity, which is still at play. So it's very important to kind of still have that kind of emotion aspect when it comes to kind of selling, albeit kind of overseas as well. Now, I'm sure we're all kind of aware of kind of the benefits of happy customers, which, you know, from a business point of view, happy customers means more business, more repeat business as well. So we're kind of really kind of harboring that kind of loyalty that we tend to have, and that can only lead to more revenue, more money for us as well. That can also lead to kind of more word of mouth advertising, and that's one thing which is a little bit more kind of intangible, is this word of mouth advertising. So if I have a positive experience with your business, I will tell my family, I'll tell my friends, and then if they have a positive experience, then they'll tell their friends, and that's something which can spread really quickly as well. And we can also kind of continue our advertising elsewhere across the internet, places such as kind of social media as well, and that's something which can help us to raise our profile of our business, of our brand, and that can naturally lead to new leads, so new potential business as well. Now, one thing in kind of the online space which tends to create a sense of trust is positive reviews that we tend to get online. It's a little bit like kind of, I guess, in the pre-internet days, whereby if somebody went to a particular store, the clothing was absolutely fantastic. They bought many items and they said, "Yes, Rikesh, you should visit here." It's a little bit like that, but now the kind of the emphasis, because we are now shopping online, has actually switched onto reviews, whereby people are kind of saying the same type of information, saying, "Yes, definitely check this out. The quality of the fabric used is fantastic." So there's a lot of kind of emphasis and a lot of kind of weight that is placed upon positive reviews nowadays online as well. So there are certain barriers, I guess, when it comes to preventing customer satisfaction. So I'm sure many of you could sort of list some into the live chat. What are some of the kind of the challenges? I mean, one of the challenges, I guess, especially when we're looking to kind of expand into new markets, is that's going to maybe kind of disgruntle our customer, is providing late delivery or like delayed delivery. I know I've ordered items before from another country, and it's taken forever. It's taken like up to 3 months to arrive, and that's annoyed me a little bit. So I'm not leaving once that transaction is completed, feeling satisfied at all as a customer. Poor communication is another one as well. Not having a clear returns policy is something which can prevent customer satisfaction as well. And another thing which we talked about earlier on was kind of limited language support as well for that country. That we're looking to kind of get into as well. So there are a lot of kind of challenges here and kind of barriers that could sort of prevent customer satisfaction, which we want to make sure that we overcome. Now, the way that we can overcome them is by positively influencing our customer. So we want to understand at what point in the sales kind of funnel process or the sales journey process is our customer most likely to make contact with us. Is it at kind of the attraction stage when they kind of find out about our products that we sell, and maybe they have had a look at the frequently asked questions section of our website, and then they get in touch to ask further questions? Is it the engagement section where they're thinking, right, yes, I'm ready to pick my size, for example, of the particular product? Is it the conversion section at the point of sale? Or is it at kind of the retention point whereby they have kind of further questions about a product which they've already purchased from you as well? We also want to understand what kind of drives customer satisfaction for those specific customers, because we all warm to different things. So for me, I really warm to timing. Kind of that punctuality aspect is something which I've been accustomed to and kind of been born and brought up with. So that's something that I really value in a business, whereas other people might value the communication aspect a lot more, kind of the reliability. I guess all of us kind of enjoy having all four of these kind of communication, timing, trust, and reliability coming through from a business, but we probably place more weight upon one than the other at times as well. And then another thing that we can do is, it probably actually feeds a little bit into the research section, is we can also understand and find out what is the industry standard, what's the industry benchmark for customer care within your particular industry as well, because we want to make sure that our delivery time, our response times, our status updates are in line with all of them. Ideally, we want to be better than them as well. We kind of want to exceed those kind of industry standards and benchmarks, so we eventually kind of become, hopefully, that kind of market leader within the within that industry as well, even if we are kind of new to the market in another territory. So it's just something to consider there. Now, another thing to consider is payments, which is probably one of the most important parts when it comes to expanding into a new country. Is we want to make sure that that process of taking payments is as quick and seamless and easy as possible. So you can see that 55% of consumers say they'll only buy from websites where information is in their native language. You can see that 67% of online shoppers abandon their shopping carts because the site does not support local payment methods. Now that's a staggering figure of 67%. That's a large chunk of potentially lost revenue. You can see that $260 billion approximately is lost in sales from abandoned shopping carts. And that's a lot of money that's kind of essentially left on the table for businesses. So how do we actually circumvent that? We want to actually prepare for international payments by making sure that our prices are localized in the right currency of the country that we are looking to get into. We want to make sure that we have adapted the payment methods to local kind of preferences that are available out there as well. So we're kind of allowing people to select whichever is their most preferred payment method. And also we want to make sure that our mobile shopping experience is the best version it can be, especially because worldwide, well, globally, there's 3.5 as of 2020. There's 3.5 billion smartphones in use, which accounts for just under 45% of the world's population own a smartphone. And the vast majority of us nowadays tend to use it for pretty much everything, including shopping as well. So we want to make sure that mobile shopping experience is up to scratch as well. Now, in terms of kind of finding out which payment providers are going to be more prevalent in certain countries that we are looking to get into, this is again where Market Finder can help us kind of bridge that knowledge gap there. So we can actually find out what is kind of the most preferred payment methods in Germany compared to Poland, compared to Spain, and you can compare other countries as well. So you can really kind of find out this information and then lean into it. There might be certain countries which which his preferred method of payment is cash on delivery as well. So it's just something to kind of keep in mind, and actually really use Market Finder to kind of answer all of these questions before we kind of go ahead and progress with setting up and kind of exporting our goods into another country. So it's just another key consideration there, because at the end of the day, as I mentioned, when it comes to payment, this is kind of the part where the customer departs with their money, and that kind of comes to us as a business. So that's kind of a really important part for us. So we want to make sure that we are kind of making that as accessible as possible. Now, if we just briefly talk logistics here. So the 6 elements of logistics you can see on screen here. So inbound logistics, packaging, warehousing, delivery, returns, transportation. Again, this is something which we need to be considering, but this is something which we can delegate a lot of to that export agent. Or if we are kind of giving this to export distributors, so that effectively an independent business where we're basically selling to them and then they're marking up and they're selling out that way. So there's quite a few kind of things to kind of take stock of, such as delivery, returns, but a lot of this we can actually lean on the support and guidance and advice of export agents there. Now, one thing to keep in mind is delivery, which is what a lot of people are focused on when they are kind of purchasing goods online. You can see that 56% of those abandoning online shopping carts do so because of hidden costs that are involved. I know I'm someone who does exactly the same. If I see that there's a hidden charge that has been added on, I'll out of pure principle, I'd be like, I'm not buying from you anymore. I'm going to be buying from somebody else, unless they are the only person that sell it, and then I'll have to probably just kind of just pluck up the courage and say, yeah, okay, that's fine, even though there is a hidden cost in there. Like, you see that 26% of shoppers who abandoned their shopping carts said that they did so because they didn't. There was no kind of fast delivery option available. So it's important to kind of provide delivery options to customers or potential customers, because we want to make sure people become customers and not just potential customers that end up abandoning their shopping carts. And you can see that nearly 40% of those of people would never shop with an online merchant again following a negative experience. So again, it goes back to what we were discussing earlier on. We don't want to fall into that category where people tell up to 16 others as to the negative experience that they had. We want to fall into that experience of we want to kind of fall into that category of people telling up to 9 people of their positive experience that they had with a particular business as well. Now, one thing just to bear in mind is it's a nice little checklist of how you can sort of impress customers when it comes to your logistics. Is we can have strong packaging that protects products, have distributed warehousing, speed of delivery thanks to a big network, have a choice of delivery locations. People can collect from other places rather than having it delivered home, especially if they're not at home to accept delivery, having competitive costs and a clear returns policy. So again, in line with that kind of transparency process. Now, you're probably thinking, oh, Rikesh, this checklist kind of sounds familiar. It reminds me of a particular company. Now, if you're kind of thinking of someone like Amazon, you'd be absolutely correct. You know, the way they kind of run their kind of Amazon Prime kind of logistics services, it's absolutely incredible. Like, I could order something now and it'd arrive by tomorrow. So it's just something. It's just kind of a nice kind of benchmark to kind of have when we are looking at logistics. We can always tweak and make adjustments in line with our own export operations that we're looking to run. But it's always a nice kind of barometer to be looking at, especially as well. So with that in mind, let's have a final check-in on questions from you all. Let's have a quick look. I can't see any questions, so let's have a look at your next steps. So in terms of next steps, you can definitely check out the brand new Google for Small Business website, which is a fantastic resource, which you can visit at google.com/small business. I'm sure Amy will kindly pop the link to this in the live chat, because you can have a look at the online success guide, you can have a look at the digital toolkit, and also tips for dealing with COVID-19 as a small business as well. And this is a website that you're more than welcome to kind of bookmark and revert back to at certain periods of time as well. Now, other thing that you can do, as I mentioned at the very beginning of this webinar session, you can have a look on the Retail Excellences YouTube channel, have a look at some of the previous Google Digital Garage webinar sessions that we've run on a variety of other topics. Feel free to also have a look at the upcoming schedule of Google Digital Garage webinars that we've got coming up on the Google Digital Garage website. Also, you can continue your learning on the Google Digital Garage website through the online courses section. And on the online courses section, you'll see a list of lots of different online courses which are provided by Google at no charge, which you're able to complete in your own time and at your own pace. And there's one course called the Fundamentals of Digital Marketing course, which once completed, you receive a certificate at no charge from Google, recognizing this achievement as well. So if you did find this webinar session useful, and I hope that you did, both myself and Amy would appreciate a little bit of feedback to let us know what you enjoyed about this session in particular. So the feedback form link is in the video description box as well, but I'm sure Amy will kindly pop the link to that in the live chat. Once you've completed that short feedback form, you will actually receive a download link to download a copy of the content that we've just gone through throughout the course of this webinar session as well. And this webinar session is going to remain on the Retail Excellences YouTube channel, so feel free to kind of rewind and rewatch whenever you like as well. So apart from that, I want to say a massive thank you to our webinar partner, Retail Excellence. I also want to say a massive thank you to our chat moderator, Amy, who I'm sure agrees has been a wonderful chat moderator. Feel free to show your appreciation down below in the live chat. And once again, thank you very much for tuning into this Google Digital Garage webinar session, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Thank you. Goodbye.